Hello YouTube, this is Skill Issue and today I'll be doing a different video than gaming. I'm gonna be telling y'all how I am studying Spanish and Japanese in the most simplest way. At least in my opinion, this is what I've been using. I have been using Anki. Like I said, I study Spanish and Japanese. So um, for about 3 months, let me show Spanish as well. And I'm gonna just give y'all a little story on, what I've been through learning this stuff, the on and off cycle, the love-hate relationship. So I would say when I was 14, my older siblings got me into anime. And, I figured out like when I was younger, like, oh my gosh, the anime language is like, or Japanese language is so cool. I want to learn it. My mother bought me books and stuff like that. I did textbooks and, like the textbooks with the stickers and, they let you write. And they claim and say they help people reach fluency, but that whole book don't teach you nothing. Um, and I realized that when I was young. And then I remember when I was maybe 17, I was in my parents' room watching a Japanese YouTuber speaking Japanese to like foreigners that know Japanese, like from America or from England. And, I remember I was like so hyped and excited I wanted to learn it, but I ended up, watching someone else speak instead of learning. And then maybe a few days after I learned or burned myself out by doing by writing in Japanese and writing every single thing that she says that that you could learn Japanese in 3 hours or whatever down, and I ended up studying for 3 hours. That 3 hours turned into 6 hours, and next thing you know, I guess I burnt myself out so much that I just didn't want to study anymore. I didn't even study for maybe a whole year. Um, and I used to do textbook strat because I'm that type of person, but that just never fit with me. Um, but maybe on my 18th year, I started to use Anki more. And I was a little on and off because, life hits, of course. I didn't have the time or the motivation and stuff like that. But I was still kind of just on and off, on and off. Um, 2025 hits, I barely studied anything. And as of now, in 2026, I'm on a 3 month streak. And I'm gonna tell you guys, what I do to avoid burnout and how many cards I'm learning. So obviously in the Japanese one, it says 2,000 to about 6,000 optimized Japanese vocab. So how I avoid burnout with Japanese. So I am an English speaker. You can tell. Japanese has no relation to English like Spanish. So I set my card number. I used to actually do 10 cards a day and infinite reviews, but within like a month that racked up super quickly. Super tedious. I didn't even want to do it. But I'd love to study this language. So I decided to utilize what Anki has in their settings. And I just, tap the reviews at 30 reviews. That's manageable. That takes me on average 10, 15 minutes and stuff like that, or maybe a little less. It took me about 2 minutes today because when you do it for long periods of time, Japanese isn't like Spanish where you can kind of just choose whether you want to, be honest with the algorithm or not. Japanese just has no relation to English, so I just go through every card, even if I don't know them, just to keep my sanity. I go through every single card and press good, because you're always going to see that card anyway, and the algorithm, I'm pretty sure, knows you don't know that card. So like, if I study tomorrow, it's going to show me the same card again. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I first started, like when I like really got serious learning it, like, what you call it, 3 months ago, I was kind of a little, worried. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what if I miss a day this? What if I miss a day that? I'm in a competition type of mindset, right? But you have to remember when you're studying a language, and I talked to my dad about this actually, to get some advice because I was really afraid to lose a streak. Um, when it comes to studying a language, in my opinion, which is actually an objective fact, when you're studying a language, you are not competing with no one. You can take your time. Whatever method you use, you can still take your time. Some people are good with the textbook type of stuff. Some people, maybe with Japanese, use Genki, or any other language they use textbooks. Some people like me are good with Anki. Some people like Duolingo. And I would say whatever works for you works for you, because I do understand this. I've been in the language learning community and trying to do this for a while. Um, a lot of what they promote on YouTube, they will tell you you're learning a language all wrong. You should use this app. No, no, no. You should not use these two apps. Like, they're always trying to compete, like even in the community, and it's kind of false, because I know when I was 17, when I looked at this stuff, it's like I didn't even want to learn a language because no one tells me a definitive answer. And there really is no definitive answer to learning a language, in my opinion. Um, Other than use what works for you. Like I said, if the textbooks work, use that. If Anki works, use it. If Duolingo works, use it. But I would recommend, if you're doing all of these, um, to get a teacher, maybe a class like once or twice a week that kind of help you out. Um, and that's it. Like the reason for me, in my opinion, I don't use Duolingo. I just don't like um when the little bird always goes on my phone and say you missed your day, or we need you to do this right now. I don't know. It just aggravates me. I don't like how Duolingo is. It's just, I don't know. It's just something about it I just don't like. Maybe I'm the only one. But yeah, you see this with my Spanish. I know about 3,631 cards. So I know most of these, if like speaking, or especially when I'm reading, of course I know all these words, and stuff like that. And sometimes when I study, even with Spanish, sometimes it's or with Japanese, or in general, it's really not fun, learning a language. Sometimes it gets boring, sometimes you procrastinate. That happens. I'm a procrastinator a little bit. I just finished this like 2 hours ago, like the my studies and stuff like that. And another thing I do as well, to pair with, what do you call it? What is this? Another thing I do to pair with Anki is I just do immersion. So I love Sonic the Hedgehog, as you can probably tell on my channel. I listen to this guy, and I just rewatch these. So the grammar that I learned from Anki gets implemented in my brain. Every time I see this, I'm like, I remember it a lot quicker, so the recall's faster. And like a lot of people on YouTube would say, like, you need to immerse this, you need to immerse that, you need to do this and do that. All you need to do, like, this is like simple. This is no bullcrap, no lying, no clickbait. You're the one who can, like I said, can control what you want to study or whatever. You're in no competition. So just do what fits you. If you can study a language for an hour, you do that. I can't do that. I don't have that discipline. I can do 30 minutes, maybe 40, but I cannot do an hour. So like with immersion, what I would recommend, 10 or 15 minutes of your favorite song. And then once you understand that song in your target language, it doesn't have to be Spanish or Japanese. You can switch to another song, and you just keep doing it. It's literally that simple. I wouldn't even worry about grammar as well, because you'll learn grammar as well. But like, I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. That's all y'all have to do. If you use Anki, you can either use Anki and Duolingo, and you're pretty much like straight, or you can use like what I do, Anki and immersion. And I do have a Spanish teacher, so but I would recommend, if you're doing either or, get a Spanish teacher because they can help you out. They're the ones that help you grammatically. If you want to learn your grammar so badly, um, just get a Spanish teacher or someone just to like practice to, and that's like really it, to be honest. And you know, um, what you call it? What you call it? I'm running out of stuff to say, lol. But this video is not scripted. But yeah, that's all I want to say though. Like, I just want to like call out some of the people, like, in the language learning. I'm pretty sure I've already said this. I'm probably overlapping on myself, but a lot of people say you can learn a language in 24 hours, or you can learn a language in a few months, and that's not really possible. You're not going to obviously learn a language in 24 hours. I cannot take that seriously. I mean, no one can learn a language in 24 hours. The people that say that, they already knew the language. Just like if I said, like, how I learned Spanish in 24 hours, but I already know Spanish. Like, I know enough Spanish to literally make an entire Spanish video. Like, I'm not even joking. I can make an entire, like, gaming session with me just speaking in Spanish. A lot of these titles do be clickbait. They are very discouraging as well. And I would repeat this for the last time. You do what works for you. These are wise words my mother has told me. You do what works for you. Now, my teacher, my Japanese teacher, has given me Genki textbooks. Like I said, I'm a textbook person, but I can't do textbooks. Like, I just cannot do that anymore. But maybe you can. So if it works for you, it works for you. I can do Anki, maybe it doesn't work for you. You can do Duolingo, it doesn't work for me. You see what I'm saying? So, there's no, in my opinion, there is no right or wrong way to study a language. I've seen people learn from textbooks and, or dictionaries, or they have other ways of learning and they get fluent in a language and stuff like that, like YouTube videos, or, like literally just like in schools, like, people speak fluent Spanish, like from their schools. So, like, as there's no right or wrong way, you just do what works for you. So, yeah, and if you obviously can't do something, if you obviously can't study for an hour, don't force yourself to study for an hour just because your favorite YouTuber that speaks your language or your target language is doing it. You work what fits for you, and that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, rant. Just like I said, this video isn't scripted, so it's whatever, and it's late at night. It's like 2 o'clock for me right now. But yeah, I just want to encourage y'all when y'all studying languages, like, y'all don't have to be in no competition with no one. You can go on your own schedule, your own timing. You're in no rush. There's, nothing to fear about losing a streak. A streak isn't going to cancel what you learned and stuff like that. Like, for example, I've learned, like I said, I've had a head start. I learned Spanish 2 years ago for about 9 months, and I didn't study for like a good year until 2026. So, when I started Anki, I'm not starting over because I've done a little bit of Anki from then. So, you don't really remember, you don't really forget what you learned. So it's like, losing a day streak or whatever isn't gonna matter. But it's a skill issue here, and I'm out of here, I guess. Peace.